Turn it on first. For Dryden.com, I'm Ben Dryden. Fitzy, today is National Hug a Bear Day. I could think of 4 definitions for the word bear. Which one do you think they mean?
I'm Barron County Sheriff Chris Fitzgerald. And do you think they mean the Chicago Bears?
Did Schaefer put you up to that?
Yeah. We should talk about the Bears. Oh, wait.
Let's not. Welcome to the big show, everyone. It's Positive Tuesday with Ben and Fitzy, presented by Professional Exteriors and Interiors. With 20 years of experience, this locally owned and operated business provides quality work both on the inside and on the outside of your home or business. Like Fitzy and I, they believe it's the little things that make a big difference. Give them a call today. The number's right there on the screen, 715-520-2271. We have a lot to get to this morning, including an active shooter alarm at 3M in Cumberland, determined to be a false alarm. Tragic grain bin accident claims life of a 58-year-old man in Barron County. Yesterday, Barron County District Attorney released a report regarding the officer-involved death of Zachary Veitch, if I'm saying that correctly. Veitch? Is it? Mm-hmm. Okay. And we had an insider story, convicted sex offender charged with possession of child pornography. But we start the show, as we always do, with a couple of sports questions or topics. I have one for you. So I know that you are a Michigan Wolverines fan, and yeah, they're 9-0, but they played 9 cupcake teams. So, I mean, we all knew they're going to be 9-0. This weekend, they only have 3 games left, so they're playing 9th-ranked Penn State. Right. And then in a couple weeks after that, their last one is against Ohio State. So we'll see if they're really any good. But my question actually isn't about if you think they're going to win or not. You are, by all accounts, a rule follower. Not just because of your profession now, but my understanding is you were born in law enforcement. You were born at age 38 and responsible, and so you're a rule follower. Michigan has been in some hot water under Harbaugh's time. I think he was even suspended at the beginning of the year for some other infractions, etc. But now, of course, there was one of the headlines that we had read recently. The NCAA is investigating Michigan for illegal off-campus scouting and signal stealing. I believe it was something like one of their members on their team, not the players, but, the people on the sidelines, dressed up with the same, not uniform, but, the polo of a different team, and just went onto their sidelines for the whole game, stealing all. What are they doing? So my question is, does this hurt, or does this mean like you're less likely to want to root for them? You've been a Michigan fan almost your whole life. Are you still?
I am, and I think that's wrong, and I think they should have punishment, but I don't think you punish players unless the players are involved. I don't like how the NCAA does some of this. Now, that guy is fired now by Michigan, but I don't like this. I mean, I suppose you have to do it. Like they can't go to a bowl game or whatever, whatever punishment they do get. But I mean, if the head coach is involved and he knew about it, then he should be gone. As much as I like Harbaugh, I mean, if he knew about this. But houses need to get cleaned up. I mean, sometimes police chiefs or sheriffs take a hit because of their department, and sometimes you just get rid of the bad apple. And if it's the bad apple, you get rid of it. But if players were doing that knowingly and using it, then when the NCAA investigates it. But I don't like that they come out and punish players or kids, and I'll call them kids, for the game that they're playing their hearts out for. And I'm disappointed that coaches do that to these kids. It's all about money, and that's the trouble with the NCAA right now.
Well, as they say on Tony Kornheiser always says on PTI, the answer to your question and to all questions is money. Right. So yeah, sounds like Mike's not a real big fan of Harbaugh, but good morning, Amanda. Holy cow, Amanda. We haven't seen her in a long time. I know her schedule had shifted or something, so she couldn't watch him live anymore. Good morning. Welcome back. Sharon,
maybe she quit her job just for us.
Just for Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Stacy, good morning and welcome, everyone. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Man, that's tough. I don't think they should lose a ball. I think, the head coach, whether he knew about it or not, the buck stops there, man. It just does. You have to take responsibility for that. I think the Big Ten, I think there's something about tomorrow that there's going to be kind of a decision made. I think it could be a suspension for the head coach. I think it could be probably a significant fine. That's just from the Big Ten. I don't know what the NCAA does.
Matter, but let me ask you this question. I have another one for you, but let me ask you this one on Harbaugh. Yeah. So does Harbaugh go to the NFL and no one pays any attention to this?
Yeah, because nobody cares. And that's what they do in the NFL all the time anyway. I mean, look at the Patriots. Everybody's just, if you're not cheating, you're not trying, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, no, I think he goes, and just like with Deion Sanders, and I know he says, no, my place is here. No. Harbaugh, I think he's gone after this. If they win the title this year, he's out. And even if I don't see him staying. I really don't.
No, either do I. And I don't think he makes it through all this issues here. I think,
and especially if he's going to get suspended for half he just got suspended and gone for the first 3 or 4 games this year, right. And now if this one's going to be, obviously it should be more. Right. He can be suspended for at least half this. Screw it, I'm just going to the NFL, and he would have a job in a heartbeat.
Right. So yeah, but what about the Brewers? Well, how about Craig Counsell going to the Cubs? Just like that, out of the blue. I mean, no one predicted that. No one saw it coming. That's got to be the biggest sports story that was nobody uncovered in the history of sports.
Yeah, that was crazy. And as a Cubs fan, I have to hate the Cardinals and I have to hate the Brewers. It's just when you get your membership card to be a Cubs fan, your Cubby card, I'm making that up, of course, you have to hate those two teams. So to have their manager, that seems weird. I'm not super comfortable with it, but hey, if that helps us win, I'm fine with it. Here's the part that was interesting, though. The highest paid manager in baseball is making $4.5 million a year. He just signed a contract that's going to pay him over twice that.
Right.
I mean, that's what? And
they're like, why did Craig Counsell leave the Brewers? He left for $3.5 more million.
Yeah, right. No kidding. $40 million contract in baseball. And baseball, let's face it, it's actually, in terms of all the managers like football or basketball, you probably have the least impact on a team. During the game, you have some calls and when to bring in another pitcher. But really, your job is when the game isn't being played, it's keeping these multi-million-dollar celebrities happy, right? And keeping a nice clubhouse. But that's the biggest thing. Man, $40 million. We'll see.
Yeah.
And if he wins, then great. We love him, and we'll forget about the fact that he played or was the manager for the Brewers for 9 years. Yeah. And if he isn't, then we're going to give him back to you.
There you go.
Take him back.
So I'm shocked by it, and
yeah.
I mean, but everybody's
would you leave? Would you leave if Washburn County
offered me $3.5 million?
And said, well, 50. No, that's 100% more.
Right.
If they gave you double your salary, be the sheriff in Washburn County, would you do it? Would you think about it?
Yeah, I would have to think about it. You have to think about that. If 100% more of your salary, yeah. So
yeah, Stacy has a question here. What do you think of that Vikings player Kendricks that keeps getting ejected for power hitting? Basically, I don't know. I haven't watched. You'd have to. That's a Mike Schaefer question. He's not on the show this morning, but I don't know who that. I mean, I know who it is, but I don't know about it because I don't watch the Vikings.
Well, I mean, I think the ejections are getting a little out of hand. I think the technicals. I watched the Laker game last night. There were 6 technicals in the Laker game. Yeah. So
when you and I growing up watching the late '80s and '90s teams, the Detroit Pistons, Knicks, and Bulls, man, you just lay those suckers out. Anybody even tries to get close to the rim, you lay them down, and you maybe got a foul, but you didn't get a technical. You didn't get kicked out of the game. Come on.
Football's a hard hitting sport, and some of those are very tough plays too, and they, luckily they have the review because in full speed it looks really bad, but then when you slow it down, it looks like helmet to helmet, but it's not, or it is. So I'm glad they review some of those calls.
Yeah, me too.
How about the Vikings winning with 2 quarterbacks and man,
yeah, that Dobbs boy.
I understand it's the Atlanta Falcons, but
yeah, but still, I didn't know about this, but I just heard this morning when I was watching the Sports Center that the Dobbs, he came in from Arizona, but he didn't even know the plays. So they were telling him, like the receivers, I guess in the huddle, were telling him, "This is the route I'm taking." Holy cow! That guy would be a good guest for a show where it's live and we have no script, right? We have some topics, but we're just winging it here, folks.
We just call somebody up and say, "You want to be on our show?" And we just start talking.
Just start talking. I love it. All right, we do have a lot to get to here, and we'll get to all of this. There's like 4 different things. A whole bunch of stuff that happened down in Barron County. We'll get to that in 15 seconds after a word from Spooner Health.
satisfaction surveys and in conversations with patients, they appreciate the fact that staff got to know them. Staff really took their preferences into account, and they just feel grateful that they are being cared for as a person.
To learn more about our services, visit SpoonerHealth.com.
All right, so our first one up here, our headline was active shooter alarm at 3M in Cumberland determined to be false alarm. For people living under a rock, I didn't hear about that one. What was that about?
We were on another call, which we'll get to the next, and a call came over the radio that there was an active shooter alarm going off at 3M, called in by an employee that said our active shooter alarm's going off. We're evacuating our building and taking, I don't know what other action they take. Cumberland PD Chief Wolf and her team got there. There was 2 other officers on in Cumberland. They all went to it. Some of our people started floating. We were on another emergency call at that time. 2 of our deputies started going that way. I ended up at a different scene, and I cleared that scene immediately and started rolling that direction also. Basically what happened is their active shooter alarm went off in their building, and people did what they were supposed to do. They sheltered in place. They ran out of the building, or they, barricaded a door or an office they were in because they didn't know it was the real deal. Ultimately, we ended up with about 40 plus law enforcement officers at 3M.
Hoy.
Dennis Stewart called me.
What?
A few times. He had sent 6 guys to us.
Oh my goodness.
So we had a full contingency from Washburn County. Ended up being that the State Patrol was having a meeting in Spooner. Another half of the troop was at the range just outside of Spooner, or between Spooner and Trigo at a range. I ended up with all of those state troopers. Ultimately, it was a false alarm, but we didn't know that at the time. We had people that were literally barricaded in their office, calling, asking them to get them out of the building. It's obviously a big building to search. You have to tactically search that because we didn't know if there was a shooter in the building. Obviously, no one heard anything, but how do you hear anything in a factory? It was loud in there when I went back in after the fact. Ultimately, it was determined that it was a false alarm. We know how it happened. They're taking some corrective actions on why it happened. I believe it was accidental. Chief Wolf is still handling that. But there's a lot of money quarterbacks out there. I can tell you that. And
how so?
We should have done this. They should have done this. We should have done this. We should have called these people. We should have got more help there. We should have had EMS standby. We had EMS there. But we dealt with it, and it was a great training exercise for being the real deal. Actually, the State Patrol really liked it as a training exercise. We turned it into a training exercise.
That's what the press release from Chief Wolf had stated at the end of the press release. I mean, kind of like the show, we try to find some positives, and that was one of these, is that this was a great training exercise, because the best training exercises are the ones that you don't even realize it's training exercise, because nobody thought it was.
Yeah, and everybody thought it was a real deal. I mean, we had people wrong, and we did, and so some of the employees thought. Now, did about 15 minutes into it, did we kind of think it was? But again, at that point, we still had some people barricaded inside the building, people hiding, some people running out, some people, that we got to them, and then we had to escort them out. It was as real as it could have been, and the best outcome. It was fake. That's the greatest outcome we could have asked for. But yes, Chief Wolf did an unbelievable job with their team. I got there and I took over his command because it's actually hers, but she was in the building. She did what she was supposed to do. She's supposed to go in the building and stop the active shooter. She was the first car on scene. That's what you do. I don't care if you're the chief, you're the sheriff, you're the
part-time
one-day patrolman. Your job is to go in and save the people. That's what she did. Did we block off the street? Did we barricade? Did we have a perimeter set up? No, because you don't set that up. And I'm not trying to give tactics out here, but tactically, that's not what we do. We didn't call a rescue response team right away. We called our SWAT team about 10 minutes into it, about 13 minutes into it. I called, my captain called the SWAT team out because we needed a few more people. And at that time, we didn't know it was false yet. Our SWAT team arrived. It was good training. You have to do a secondary search. All in all, it was fake. We're working on it. I don't think it will happen again. They're going to make some changes at 3M. You have to dial a number to make this alarm go off.
Okay, I wrote down a couple things, and one of them, while you're talking, one of them was, what is that? And maybe that's something that people don't want, or organizations don't want people to know about, like where it is or how to do it. But I was like, is it typically, so maybe not even 3M specific, but typically is this like a fire alarm type thing? Like active shooter, you pull a handle, or is it there's some that you can make phone calls? Can you share any of that without giving away too much?
No, and it's this one was dialed from a phone. I've seen them dialed from a phone. I've seen them have push buttons, like panic buttons in certain places in a building.
Oh, sure.
You hit the button and it goes off. A lot of our system, like I don't have it on my phone, but in the county we have a system. We can push a button that rings 911 automatically. So it's a button on your phone, and some people accidentally hit it, just like when you hit 911 on your cell phone. So we have a duress button on all of our phones in the county. So we can push this button and automatically rings 911. Stay on the line if you accidentally hit it. Sometimes you drop your phone, you're dusting, you drop your phone and it dials it.
I see your call logs that automatically sent out like 6 in the morning, 6 in the night. I don't look at them anymore, of course. Mm-hmm. Ever since you delayed them 24 hours because another news outlet took them. I'm still fighting for it. Well, come on, don't punish us for it. But I remember when I was looking through those, I would see a lot of 911 hangups, and they would call back because they have to call back. You've explained that on the show before. We just can't go, all right, well, we didn't get a hold of them. Never mind. You then have to send somebody out, but usually they can get a hold of them again. And like, yep, sorry, I just, it was a misdial. Like, how do you misdial 911? So, but that makes sense if it's just like that emergency, just a button on your phone.
Right. So, so I use that. And so that's how it happens. And again, a lot of people use their phones for different things. So again, they're working on maybe thinking about doing something different on their end.
Sure.
They have a great safety. It's a great tool. I mean, it's one of the only businesses I know that has an overhead paging system that automatically goes off. It was a great tool. 3M did an unbelievable job. I'm sure they have a lot of lessons. I got a whole list of things here that maybe we could have done a little differently. Maybe we'll do different next time.
After action reports, these are normal. I mean, just in life, like every time I have a conversation with my kids, like a serious conversation about something, when I finish, I go, I could have done it this way, or I should have. Maybe I could have rephrased the question. That's what you're supposed to do. If you actually finish with one of these and go, no, I think we did it perfect. Yeah, I don't know. That's the borderline narcissism there, man. We need to learn from these things. Mm-hmm. So I think that's perfectly normal and fine. But the other thing I wrote down here, I don't want to forget this. You said something about Spooner, the State Patrol. Mm-hmm. What was going on with them at this time?
They just happened to be having a troop meeting from all of Northwest Wisconsin in Spooner.
All right, so thankfully, since this was a false alarm, I can say this. Wow, that was like the absolute worst time. I mean, that poor person who actually was doing an active shooter. Not poor person, I'm just saying.
Like, where did all these cops come from? Right. It's like the guy that robbed the bank during the Barron County Fair. At noon, where did he think all the cops were? We were eating lunch at the fair, and he robbed the bank. Well, of course we were going to catch him.
Yeah, that's funny.
He robbed the closest bank to the fairgrounds at noon on the second day of the fair. We were all hungry. There was 9 cops at the fairgrounds eating. We all have to eat lunch. We all ate lunch together that day. That guy robbed the bank. He was like, where did all these cops come from?
I love that cop story. That's awesome.
Yep. And so the State Patrol was a great tool. Washburn County, Shell Lake Police, Burnett County called me. St. Croix County called. I mean, we had tons. It was great response by law enforcement. We had great communication. Our radios didn't work inside the building, which they're usually not gonna. I don't care what kind of radio system we buy. They're probably not going to work in a big steel building like that. But we got through it. We didn't have the fire department there. I know there's some heartache over that, and there's going to be heartache. People want to help, and when people want to help, they want to be there, and they think we have the resources to do that. And at that time, I made the decision. That's on me. I made that decision. It stops at my door. It doesn't stop with Chief Wolf. She was in doing her job. I was doing my job. Her and I met for 20 seconds inside the building. I decided to stay outside the building. She was going to take command inside the building. It worked out really well for us. She did an unbelievable job. Her department did an unbelievable job. And all the Monday morning quarterback can run for sheriff, I guess. I don't know what to tell you. Probably not, because I like my job. So I'm running again.
Yeah, they could. But so you do practice for these
It's
things.
Election day, too. So, yeah.
Yeah. You do practice for this stuff.
Yep.
So
Yes.
now that you in the practices, somebody, however they come up with the material, the rubric, the whatever it is, the plan for these practices. This was believed to be true, right? Obviously, you actually thought there was an active shooter. Did the practice? Was this a wildly different situation? Do you also have to look at what you guys practice for and train for and go, you know what? We've been kind of training and practicing for some of the wrong things. Because here was a real life scenario, and we thought it was real. And yeah, some of that practice, the stuff that we should be focusing on different things. Is this going to change any of your training going forward?
No, hats off to 3M, to be honest, because they've had us in and did active shooter training. And in my opinion, the employees did everything they were trained to do. Some people hid, some people barricaded, some people ran out of the building. Now, we didn't go to the right spot when we exited the building. I had the 3M employees too close to the building in case we needed more help. The people were too close. They went to a wrong collection point, so they were going to move their collection point. So yes, but as far as the training, I was very impressed with law enforcement's response, and I was very impressed with 3M's response based on the training we gave them. And no, we're going to make some changes to some of our tactics, but really not even the tactics, some of our command tactics, not some of the search and rescue tactics. But yes, I thought it was very good. I think when you put Washburn County Shell Lake officer, a trooper, and a Cumberland cop and a Barron County cop together, and a Turtle Lake cop, I mean, that was one team made up of them people. That's a lot of different agencies, all for the same goal, and that worked really well. The tactics used by them was very well. Some people did a little different. We have some trainings we set for the year with all of our PDs. For the first time ever, we're going to have year-round training where we invite all the PDs to come. Now, they're all not going to be able to come to every single training, but one of ours is room clearing, because a lot of times we end up in Turtle Lake with a Cumberland cop, a Barron cop, and a Barron County cop, and we all clear a room a little different. So we're going to all try to change,
Really,
or all do the same tactics together.
Yeah, you would think that would just be universal.
It is to a degree, but and some people train more. We have a bigger training budget. Obviously, we have more people to train, so we train a little bit more. We have SWAT team members that train tactically every month. All of those SWAT team members happen to be Barron County Sheriff's Department people at this time, minus the Rusk County guys. So we tactically train more than some of our police departments do, because they're not on our SWAT team. They can't afford to have somebody on a SWAT team, or whatever the reasons are. Maybe no one wants to be on a SWAT team. This is a choice. So we tactically train more than some of our PDs do. It's not a knock on them. It's just the reality of the job. I mean, they don't have the time, the budgets, or the personnel that do that. And so we're going to train tactically on some things and do some things together because of situations that end up like this. So great response. Hats off to Chief Wolf. Hats off to 3M.
Yeah, she's killing it in Cumberland.
It was a mistake. Could have been ended sooner. Yes, we didn't need that big a response, but we didn't know at the time, so we did it.
Oh, come on. Sorry. Yeah. No, I disagree with that. Active shooter, every freaking cop should be there. If you were able to be there, you should be there.
Right.
That's just my opinion.
Right.
And by the way, here's a little tip when it comes to clearing rooms, as I've learned on Call of Duty. I always throw in a flashbang first. And even if it's innocent people, that's okay. But you throw a flashbang, and that's putting everybody down, and then you can just shoot the bad guys. That's how you do it.
Hey, have you played the new Fortnite version?
No.
This new craze going across the nation right now is this. Fortnite released the original version of Fortnite on PS4 and PS5, and every kid in America is playing it right now. I don't know. I went to some talk, and then my kid was home this weekend, and there was this new Fortnite version out, and it's like this new craze. So I figured you were in on that.
Fun story. On Saturday, I just decided that's it. I'm out. I deleted all my games on PS5, and I gave it to Kenneth. I've been playing video games since the first Atari. I've been playing for 36, 38 years. I have just about every system. I got rid of it. I no longer play games, which is really weird. But that's a whole other thing. We have a whole bunch to get to here. We still have more to go. Next one up, and this must be the one you were referring to. Tragic grain bin accident claims life of a 58-year-old man in Barron County. Was that the one you were referring to that you were at when you got this call?
Correct. That is a where we were at. It was just a tragic farming accident. There's not much you can say about that one. Hats off to the first responders. I've given both my deputies, my first two deputies that were on scene. I mean, these deputies literally threw off their. You have to get in these grain bins. The hole to get in the grain bin is only like this big. I mean, and they can't fit with their vest. Our cops literally had their vest just thrown on the ground, dove in there, did what they could. They gave that guy a fighting chance, and hats off. And I know he passed away, and that sucks, but hats off to our first responders. From my two deputies to the first responders to the helicopter to the firemen that were there. They gave that guy every chance he could get, and it doesn't work out that way sometimes for us, and it sucks. But there's not much more you can say except our first responders are awesome. And we've given them all the credit in the world, and it's just a tragic grain accident in a grain bin. They're very dangerous. The grain bin was empty. It wasn't a suffocation one. It was a mechanical one that got caught up in it, and not good.
You've done a few of these press releases, if I recall.
Yeah. And I think the reason I do a press release is not to tell people about it. And we didn't release his name. And I'm kind of done releasing names to some degree, minus accidents. Accidents are different kind of a public record. But I think when you see that much of a response, people wonder about it. They get talking. And I think it's controlling the narrative to some degree. And that's what I've always decided to do or tried to do from this seat here is control the narrative with truth.
Be transparent. Yep. You always have been.
And so I think that's why I send press releases out about that. It isn't, but when you see a helicopter and there's firemen and everybody knows a fireman, everybody knows somebody that works in EMS or a first responder or a law enforcement officer or the helicopter. And I think the rumors get out and it was just a tragic grain bin accident, but it wasn't a suffocation. It wasn't full. They were cleaning it. They happen, and everybody, and it's just a good reminder to be careful. Whether it's why we do seatbelts, why we do drunk driving, why we do farming accidents. Hey, let's just slow down. And I'm not saying that's what happened in this time, but that's why we do this. We're saying just take your time, or put your seatbelt on, or don't drink and drive, or whatever. I don't understand farming. Farming is a tough job, and they do what they can, and our farmers are wonderful people that we owe everything to. So just sucked. It's just terrible. I don't like it.
There's several questions in the comments. We'll get to those. We can kind of a couple back to the active shooter thing, but I want to get through this. We'll probably skip our last thing, but I want to get to yesterday. Barron County District Attorney had released a report on the officer-involved death of Zachary Veitch. Obviously, you saw that as well. I'm sure you were copied on that. It's on our website at Dryden.com. What were your thoughts when you read that?
What I thought was going to happen. I mean, I believe that was going to happen because I believe in our training and our deputies and our officers, both from our sheriff's department and the Rice Lake Police Department.
That's right.
And again, those names aren't being released if there's officers because there's an active threat against them. And so DCI is working on that. So you won't see names being released. I think that's a key point to this is that, we normally would release the names at this time. We probably would have released them by now. Now on Wednesday, that is the criminal end of it. We do our own policy review, an independent policy review. It's called the shooting review panel. Both Chief Rue and I are having a shooting review panel team, a joint one because it was a joint call. We're doing and make sure that they didn't violate any policies. Now the district attorney has ruled they violated no crimes. We're going to say yes or no, they violated a policy or they didn't violate a policy, and then we'll release that on Wednesday. So you'll see another press release on Wednesday from myself and or Chief Rue or separate ones. I don't know how we're going to do that yet. That says they violated this policy or they didn't violate a policy or they did this.
Thank you for explaining that. So that makes more sense. Like, well, I thought we already got one of these. I see. That makes sense. And, and I think this is Agreed. An informed community, a smart community, and he was, I think, referring to what we were just talking about before about that you send out things. But yeah, I've said that about you too. And listen, this is not your requirement. There is no sheriff needs to release this stuff. Our sheriff of Washburn County, it's stupid rare if you ever get anything. But that's the way he does it. And if you like it and you're a citizen and you're a voter and you're fine with it, perfectly fine. He's not doing anything wrong. Now, I don't like it because I'm a citizen and a media outlet. So between the two, I don't like it because I feel like that stuff is important. You should. I mean, these are inform your community, your constituents, the residents, the voters. Let's not forget there's still voters out there, and things happen. And I want to know. I mean, you're an elected official there. This would be like if our legislators in our area go down and do stuff and they never tell anybody about it. One, that would be bad politically. You should probably let people know what you're doing. But you also kind of think, then what are you doing? Anything at all? Because that's the perception that a lot of people have. Whether that's true or not, I think in some cases maybe, but not all cases. But that stuff's important. And every sheriff that I know that I respect, they always put out information about stuff. Some more than others, but there's usually like that baseline. All right, there's a death in the area. Or maybe they want to put something down like you said about the grain bin tragedy where it's not a crime, but there's other benefits to it. Like you just said, be aware of this stuff. I mean, there's been more than one of these incidents. And plus with rumor, I mean, Facebook and social media is the new water cooler. And then the wrong information gets out. If you have 8 cops at one location at once, I get flooded with messages. Hey, do you know what's going on? Hey, do you know what's going on? Well, I heard that. Oh, and I heard that. Well, even that 3M situation. I was getting all these messages of people saying that it was in Rice Lake and it was at a beef store. Nope. Then it was, I think, like 3 different locations, 3 or 4 different cities, and they're all wrong. Right. Like one person did have it right and said 3M, but it was in Ladysmith. I'm like, I don't even think they have one in the Ladysmith. What are you talking about? So that's just it. You have to stay ahead of this stuff, man, and you can control the narrative if you just put that information out.
Right. And I choose to do what I do, and I take some heat from our sheriffs and our chiefs about our access and the access I give people to our sheriff's department. I've set the bar really high. Don't use me as the bar. I mean, I love what I do. I love to do this kind of stuff. I love to answer questions. I mean, I think that's why people watch the show, because we're not afraid to answer any of these questions on the sidelines here. And so we're not knocking any of the other sheriffs that don't put out press releases or do anything like that, because I just enjoy doing this. This is what I think works for Barron County. And I've always said, maybe that works in Washburn or Polk or Burnett or Rusk County, but this is what I do in Barron County. That's what the people of Barron County say I'm okay with. Maybe they're okay with whatever else in another county or another city. I just love what I do, and I love to do this. So we're not knocking anybody for not doing that, but I'm going to continue to do it.
You're not. Let's just be clear. I am. Specifically one county. But there are other sheriffs like Tracy Finch that doesn't put out a ton, but puts out the relevant stuff, and is not afraid to answer anything, not afraid to take a phone call or a text.
But people give her, some gruff because of they're like, why can't you be like Barron County and do a show every week and tell everybody what happens?
Well, she does a show. She does a radio show every Tuesday. Some radio station.
I'm just using her as an example because she wouldn't care if I used her as an example. So
Tracy's awesome.
Yeah, exactly.
No
So
kidding. Here's the thing: you go after Tracy, I'm gonna have a massive problem with you. Like, no kidding. Not you. I mean anybody. Like that's you can't touch Tracy. She is. I have so much respect for her, not just as a sheriff, but also as a cop, just in general, and also just as a human being. No, you don't get. You can talk about anybody you want, but just not Tracy. That one would fire me up. She's pretty awesome. Like, go after Brent Walk. He's an easy target. I'm kidding, Brent. I love you.
So what would happen if there was a violation? If there was a violation of a policy, they would be in trouble.
Wait, you're already going through questions?
I'm already going through, because one was, what if, because the policy review panel is tomorrow, if they violate a policy of our department, then there's certain things. There's a written warning, a suspension, termination. I mean, that's what happens if you violate some of our policies. It might be a counsel and release. It could be a suspension, a termination, everything like that. So that's what happens if there's a violation. Now, more than likely, there's not a violation, because then the DA would probably rule. But again, an independent people will review tomorrow. They review the case. They review the video. They determine what our policy is and if they violated the policy, and they vote. There's actually a vote. We'll actually release that vote tomorrow. A vote of 7-2 or 9-0 or whatever the number is. So that's what would happen. So,
Dad, former Washington County Sheriff Ted Dryden, my father, rumor mill is very damaging. If you don't know, shut up. Well, there you go. See, Dad is in this very elegant way of stating things. He's not a sheriff anymore. Hold on, I want to go back up here because on some of these. Sorry, I'm trying to scroll up on line. Nope. There was one in here. I want to start. There we go. This is a little off topic, but that's okay. When a officer is arresting someone, what is the procedure for arresting them? I think somebody replied handcuffs, which is kind of funny, but I don't think. I think there's more to that.
Well, I don't know that there's a procedure. I mean, you don't have to be read your rights right away. A lot of people think just because as soon as we put the handcuffs on you, we have to read you your rights. That's not how it works. You don't have to be read your rights right away. Now, you have to be read your rights before we take an official statement from you, but there's utterances, there's different things. So there's not a good procedure. I mean, we have to meet the elements of a crime before we arrest somebody, or we think we've met the elements of crime. Preponderance of evidence is what we need. So, it's different. So it's a tough question.
So it isn't a universal. All right,
step one. You got to do step one.
There's a lot of variables here.
Sometimes we just spin them around and start handcuffing them because telling them they're under arrest can raise, awareness and get them into a fight mode. And so sometimes we just spin people around, start handcuffing them, and then tell them they're under arrest. You don't have to do. It's not like TV, but you have to have a reason. You have to write a report. You have to testify to that. You have to collect evidence. You have to do all of that. The district attorney makes the charging decision. We don't get to. So
a reason, like you're ugly.
Right. I don't like you today.
Yeah, right. Get out of here. Here's another one. This one going back to obviously 3-on-3 active shooter scenario. Doesn't public get emergency warning? That is a fantastic question, Becky.
That is a good question. And
we'll have to get back to you on that one.
No, I'm actually thinking about writing that down and as part of our recap. We have a
good one. Look at that, Becky. You're going to be a part of their recap. Make sure you use her name and spell her last name correctly. Anonich.
Yeah. Yes, we have that ability. No, it doesn't automatically happen. We'd have to input that and do that.
But I wouldn't want it automatically done because you could run into the same scenario as of right now. And then everybody's panicking. Yeah, that's it. How does it work right now? Like,
I can input a circle. I can draw a circle on a map, and then record a message, and it can actually be my voice, or it can be an automatic message saying "active shooter at 3M. Please seek shelter." Now, we did lock down the school. We didn't lock down any other businesses. We did lock down the school from going outside during this incident. Kids were actually outside during it. So one of the first things the school cop did. And again, that's why we have school cops, because they think differently than us. Their job is to protect the school. They're the chief of police of a school. I've always said our school cops are chief of police of their school. School cops rolling off. He said the kids are outside. The first thing he does is say, call the school and tell them to lock down. And then he actually called the school again and said, no one goes outside till I tell you. And that was his role. That's what he did. So we can draw a circle. I can say active shooter around, and I can set it for a quarter mile, half mile, a mile. I can say we're looking for Ben Dryden. He's in a South Lake Motors sweatshirt, and boom.
Yeah, I got my Jeep.
Yeah, got your Jeep.
And that's where you got your vehicle too. Aw.
Yep. Yeah. On the same day. Aw.
On the same day. I know, it's crazy.
By chance. But so, no, it doesn't happen automatically. Yes, we have the ability to do that for just about anything. Well, we do have the ability to do it for anything I want. Yeah. So if I want to look for a lost kid, if I want to tell you about a storm coming, if I want to do anything, I can do that. So.
A cheat code for Fortnite. Put that out there. Anyone have any cheat codes for this? All right. So these are going to be a little out of order, so I apologize. But we had so many, and it was hard to kind of keep going with those. Here's a question from Cheryl. Good morning. The press releases are a form. Oh, this is more of a statement. A form of citizen education as well as giving legitimate facts of an incident. That 100% right there. Legitimate facts, right? As you have said before, unless it comes from me or this podium or this office, I'm not saying it's wrong, but I'm not saying it's right because unless it comes from me, I can't attest for anything else. So yeah, very good point. Should you have a certain amount of time? Oh, I think this goes back to the certain amount of time. Respond to
Give a
you're
certain
under
amount
arrest.
of time to respond to you're under arrest.
I think this is going back to the officer. What's the procedure thing?
I'm going to go with no.
No. That's what Stacey said too. No.
No, you don't. Once I place you under arrest, you don't have a certain amount of time. Now, it doesn't mean you're resisting arrest, because you have to. Resisting arrest meets a different element of a crime. So I think she's trying to get to something specific. If she wants to reach out to me offline, I'm happy to answer it.
And how does she do that?
But we don't give, call my office, call dispatch 537-3106, has to be transferred to me. Now, I don't give legal advice. I'm not going to comment on another arrest for another department.
I will.
An arrest we
Just call me.
Call Ben and ask him.
I'll tell
He'll
you.
tell you what you think.
Yeah.
I know you should have just turned around and put your hands behind your back when they say you're under arrest. We prefer that happens, but
If everyone
You
just
don't-
did that,
there's
then
no
get a
certain-
lawyer, because that's what their job is for, right? Just saying, whatever. Dawn says something I learned in active shooting training is never call a person that may be involved. A good tip for everyone here. Do you agree with that?
I learned is never call a person that may be involved. Well, we don't call people.
No, I'm wondering if, like a citizen, or if it's, let's say this happened at Spooner Middle School or high school, and maybe,
Correct.
and I would call one of my kids.
Don't
on
call
their
the
cell- I wonder
3M, don't call the 3M employee and say, "Hey, are you all right? I heard there's an active shooter."
Yeah, I
there,"
think
'cause
that's
the
been-
phone might go off. 100% agree with Dawn on that. That's what she's getting at. I agree with that.
I think that's what it is, Dawn.
Right,
Correct
I
me if
agree
I'm
with
wrong.
you. Don't call the 3M employee and say, "Hey, do you know what's going on at your plant?" "Yeah, I'm hiding under the desk."
Yeah.
Now the bad guy knows where I am. Thank you.
Yeah.
So don't call somebody. They'll listen. We'll give information. I get it. So
Yeah. Brian says, "Why I should be careful, because I never read these before I put them on the screen." Ben and Chris reached out to me once. I can get something in the professional exteriors and interiors have got coming up for donations.
I got a place you can donate, Brian. Don't worry.
Yep, DrydenWire.com. I'll give you the address.
Chris Fitzgerald. .com. I don't know. I got to come up with the .com.
You got to get one. You have to. Oh, by the way, so Dirk, our weather guy, couldn't be on this morning. He sent me a message this morning that said, "Hey, Ben, to let you know, I have to take my Chase unit in to get my new key fob program." So he wouldn't be on the show, but he gave us the weather forecast. So here it is. Today, cloudy, highs in the low to middle 40s. Rain tonight with lows in the middle 30s. Rest of the week, partly to mostly cloudy with highs overall running in the 40s. So, yeah, at least it's not freezing. The weekend is looking to be nice with lots of sun in the 40s, close to 50 come Sunday. So it looks like it's just going to be,
So we can
a
rake our
decent
leaves
week,
one more.
but then sounds like a nicer weekend.
rake our leaves, get all the leaves picked up before it snows. So actually,
Yeah.
Larry has a good point on this one. Active shooter would draw people
Did I
that
see that?
to see what's going on. Don't need that. And
Oh,
Larry
there it
makes a
is.
good point. Just because you say, "Hey, there's something going on at 3M," we had all kinds of people stopping on Highway 63 watching us, and that just causes a traffic problem, because if you crash, now I got to send a cop to that crash. Where are the cops needed? So
Oh,
don't
right.
come and watch us. I just
And
I
don't
get-
message me either. Again,
And
we
don't-
had to turn off. I finally had to turn my phone on Do Not Disturb. Somebody texted and called, and they're all asking me, like, if I know something, I'm going to put it on. If I can share it, it's going to be on Dryden Wire.
Right.
And if it's not on Dryden Wire, then either I know and I can't say, or I just don't know. But just go there.
I think you were the only news outlet that didn't call my cell phone.
I'm
in the
not
middle
going to
of the-
freaking
I
call
know.
you during an possible active shooter. Are you kidding me? And I know that's my job, but I don't. I'm not a
Well,
journalist. No.
I had every Minnesota news station, every Eau Claire news station dialed my cell phone, and that's my fault for giving it to them. I give them access to myself, so they call, and that's just not. I just hung up on them. I mean, they respect me enough that that if I hang up on them, they know I'm in the middle of the incident. So I didn't know who it was. I didn't know if it was another sheriff calling or another officer inside the building.
Oh, so
I
you have
was
to answer.
I answer my phone. Like some of them I have in there, so I knew, so I could just hit end. I just not answer it. If I knew.
Right, like
it
if
was
I
there.
called you and you were busy, you're like, okay, Ben Dryden. I'm not going
But-
to answer right now. I can't. But if it's a number that you don't recognize, but during something like this, it could be an FBI agent for all you know.
Correct.
I mean,
It
who
might
knows
be.
what this is? So I have to. So what do you do? Let's say my number, or I called you from a different number,
I
so
would've
it
answered
doesn't
it,
show up,
so-
and you'd be like, hey, and I'm like, hey, Chris, it's Ben. What's going on,
But
buddy?
I can't talk right now. See ya, and they understand
Got
that.
it.
So we so
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just can't get myself to call somebody during the middle of it. Even when we get notifications there's a crash, right? We get emails, and not from you. State Patrol actually, and there's a crash. This lane's closed. Yeah, that's the one. And so I won't even bother you. I'll wait, because usually if it's like over an hour or like 2 hours, if it takes longer than 2 hours to get an updated one, that tells me, okay, it must be probably not a good incident. Not that there's necessarily a good crash. But if it's like 20 minutes later, we get the update that, all right, scene's cleared, or the roads are all open again, it's okay, that was a nothing thing. But I'll still wait until I get that next one. Or if it's like 4 hours later, now here's a new detour.
Right.
And it's okay, dokie. Then I'll maybe text you. Like, hey, so sounds like this might be a bad crash. But I don't know. I don't want to interrupt people doing their jobs. I know that's my job to do that, but I'm uncomfortable doing that.
So I got two things to talk about.
Go ahead.
That aren't on our list. So tomorrow, November 8th, I'll be at the Rice Lake Senior Center with Captain Matt Bach from the Rice Lake Police Department. We're doing coffee and treats at 9. And then at 10 o'clock, we're having a presentation on what to do if you're in an accident, scams, when to call 911, different topics for the senior safety seminar. So tomorrow at 9 a.m., coffee and treats, and the Senior Center, Rice Lake Senior Center, puts on a great little, almost a meal. And then you can have lunch there if you want for a small donation. But Captain Bach and I will be there for a presentation. It's on our Facebook page if you want more information. Very cool. And then Monday, December 4th, everybody mark your calendars. The greatest night of law enforcement in the history is our Shop with the Cop event at Walmart.
Yeah, buddy.
And then so it's the greatest night. That's where I want people to come and cheer for us and watch us and see us in action and have fun with us and donate to us and do whatever. That is Monday, December 4th. Yes, there'll be a lot of cops. There's still people patrolling. Don't worry. We don't shut down the county and say no crime for the next 2 hours. But we'd prefer there was no crime so we could all shop with the kids. But we'll make sure that we got a great meal from Adventures, our law enforcement foundation. But that's coming up. We're going to talk a lot more about that. Shop with the Cop is December 4th. But hopefully everybody comes out to the Rice Lake Senior Center tomorrow at 9 a.m., 10 a.m. for the presentation. We'll see everybody out there.
Shop with the Cop. It's inevitable. Every year.
Yep.
I always get messages. Hey, do you know what's going on at Walmart? There's a whole bunch of guys.
There's 40 cops backed in perfectly.
There's a whole bunch of kids inside. What's going on? You're perfectly backed in. I love it. Yeah, if they're backed into the parking spots, it's not an emergency, folks. Oh, that's great.
I know.
All right.
We got people. So
awesome. Great show. Real quick, Jace, hockey? How's it going?
Really good.
Good. Does he have something coming up soon?
He's always got games coming up. So I think he's on the road this weekend. I don't think I'm going. He's working out with a different team today, actually. So who knows what's going to happen. So, yeah, the trade deadline, I don't know. Junior hockey's crazy.
Oh, so, and there's so many sports going on. And now I just found this out. I've been so busy. But college basketball started last night. Didn't even know that. Yeah, Duke beat who? Like, who they play, like Providence or some junky team? They won like 100-50.
But did you see Michigan State lost last night? The ranked team, they lost.
Did they really?
So, yeah.
Aren't they were like third or fourth or fifth or something like that?
I'm pretty sure it was Michigan State. I think Duke plays Michigan State Tuesday. So
okay, now that'll be a good game. Week from today.
Yeah, week from today.
Oh, we'll have to make some bold predictions sure to go wrong. All right, for Barron County Sheriff Chris Fitzgerald, I'm Ben Dryden, and you've been watching Positive Tuesday with Ben and Fitzy, presented by Professional Exteriors and Interiors. With 20 years of experience, this locally owned and operated business provides quality work both on the inside and on the outside of your home or business. Give Brian a call. The phone number is right there on the screen, 715-520-2271. Fitzy and I will be taking a 6-day, 23-hour, and 15-minute break, so until next Tuesday, thank you for watching, and have a blessed day.